Good evening, everyone. Uh, Good afternoon, good morning, wherever you are. Maneco 64 here, home of alternative economics and contrarian views. Let me know if you can hear me well. Hopefully, we won't have any buffering. So, Billy's here. We've got 35 people on already. Hi, Ben. Hi, everyone. Hi, Anonymous, Jason Kim. So yeah, the title is Precious Metals, Cryptocurrencies, or Fiat Currencies. I have been covering cryptocurrencies and Bitcoin for since I started my channel in late 2015. Recently, I haven't been covering it much. One thing I would say, there's an old saying. It goes like this: Gold is the money of kings. Silver is the money of gentlemen, barter is the money of farmers or peasants, and paper is the money of slaves. And I personally would say that Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies is the money of digital gentlemen. So that's what I think. What about fiat currency that we have and Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies? Are they the same? I don't think so, because fiat currencies are, how can I say, forced on the public through legal tender laws, through taxation. Bitcoin emerged from the market. It wasn't forced. There are other cryptos, of course, that have disappeared, and many others that will in the future. So that's my main idea there. So let's say hello to everyone. Pablo, hi, Pablo. People are hearing me well. That's good. Nacho Radio Blah is here. Leroy Jones, Chris Varga. Well, I'd like to thank everyone for coming on for my live stream. I really appreciate it that you find it that you interested in listening to what I have to say. Thank you so much. So let's see if there are any questions. Tom Jode, what percentage do you have in silver, gold, and cryptos? It's much more geared towards precious metals. I do have a fairly good amount of cryptocurrencies, but it's more speculative. Yeah, that's the way I look at it. Of course, precious metals still have the track record of thousands of years. And I'd like to read something from a central banker, a guy called John Exter. He was actually helped found the Central Bank of Sri Lanka, or Ceylon, in the 50s. He worked for the New York Fed. You probably have heard of John Exter and the inverted pyramid. Now read what he said about money. This is what he said. If enduring store of value money must be a commodity, it follows that governments and central banks cannot create it unless they were to go, let's say, into the gold mining business. It follows also that if they persist in creating I owe you nothing money, which is fiat currency, they will slowly but surely run themselves out of the money-making business altogether and have to start over again. And he concludes by saying, so it is also apparent and at the same time reassuring that it is private people in the market, not governments, who decide what money is and what different kinds of money they are going to use and hold, especially the enduring store of value money, and most important of all. So I think that's really interesting what he said there, John Exter. Basically, that money is not a government creation. Government is only hijacked money. So that's why I actually think there is a space for cryptocurrencies. So Bitcoin, that is the original cryptocurrency. And what Bitcoin tries to solve, it's what's called the Byzantine Fault. And what's that? Well, it's to do with the Byzantine generals problem, which is basically let's say back in the during the Byzantine Empire, if they're fighting a battle against another empire, they had to make it working for them. Okay, looks like all right, bad connection there from one. So the Byzantine problem is that there might be someone involved in the battle, in the setup of the battle, that is a traitor, for example, and doesn't do what he has to do. So that's the problem with money, with and that's what cryptocurrencies try to solve. And I would say read Google Bitcoin and read Wikipedia. That would be the best thing to do. What Bitcoin has done is decentralize and money through mining, which is basically solving problems like computer programming problems. I'm not a developer or a coder, and that's what cryptocurrency Bitcoin is. People mine for cryptocurrencies, and there's a limit of 21 million of Bitcoin, and the more people mine, the harder it gets to mine. There are other cryptocurrencies that use proof of stake instead of proof of work, but basically Bitcoin is like the it's like the root of cryptocurrencies, and it allows you to transfer value from peer to peer. And what we've had develop is people develop applications on top of that, and that's what all the other altcoins are in a nutshell. Let's see if there are any questions. There's quite a few people here already. I'm sorry if I don't answer all your questions. It's difficult to see all of them. Look. Yeah, it's I owe you nothing money. Yeah. Tonight is the New England Patriots versus the Pittsburgh Steelers. All right. NFL football. In what order should one get rid of assets and go into gold? Assets like equities, bonds, etc. Well, that's for you to decide, and it depends what kind of bonds you have. If they're high risk bonds, if like junk bonds, equities, you might like the company that you own stocks on. So what gold is money, right? It's safe money. That's what it is. Investment is different. So a girl OG says, I think cryptos are just a scam. 21 million Bitcoin, 77 magic number. Whatever people say, the market, the market actually gives value to Bitcoin and other cryptocurrencies. That's what people need to, kind of realize as well, that if there is demand for something and it's useful for something digitally, that it can be money. So the other thing I wanted to read here is I'm reading this book here called Medici, Banking, Metaphysics, and Art in the 15th Century Florence by Tim Parks. It's not a big book. I've just started reading, but there's a part here that's really interesting because one of the things about cryptocurrencies and the blockchain is that everything is transparent. It's decentralized. You can't change transactions. Very hard because there's so many people all over the world, the coders or the block producers, they're watching everything. So what's this got to do with Renaissance Florence? Well, I'll read a passage here from page 30. It says, once completed, the entry is read out loud. This is about exchanges, right? The Exchange Guild in Florence in the Renaissance. And it says, any member of the Exchangers Guild found to have destroyed or altered his accounts is expelled without appeal. The church's rules may be open to debate. These are not. And when a banker dies, leaving no one to carry out on the business, his ledgers are held by the guild in a chest with 3 locks so that the 3 officials, each with his own key, must be present before the account. So yeah, what's that got to do with cryptocurrencies? Well, it's very similar because you can't cheat. And during the cheated out of the exchangers guild, they call it the art of exchange. Actually, that's what they call it. And I think this developed because the central bankers and the bankers, they've been abusing the system, right? That's no wonder we can't even audit the Federal Reserve and other central banks. So we can't even see what they're doing on the ledgers. So I think that's one of the reasons cryptocurrencies evolved. Precious metals, of course, have been used as a store of value for thousands of years, and they will, in my opinion, be used for the next thousands of years in the future. They will still always be there, I think, in my opinion. So, but cryptocurrencies, I think it's a digital way to try to have an alternative for the fiat currency system. So yeah, I think cryptocurrencies are credible. Of course, you need to do your homework. There's many altcoins out there that are probably going to be worthless, but you need to do your homework. So we've got 135 people here. A lot of people have dropped off. So let's see. Who were the big boys? Well, I guess in the 15th century, they were the Medici. In the 14th century, there was, I think, Peruzzi and another family. They went bust because I think one of the English kings defaulted on a big loan to them. So yeah, it changed. It changed. But there were the big banks, international banks like the Medici. There were the smaller banks that were regional, and they all dealt out in the open in tables, which were called banca, and everything was transparent. So interesting how things don't change. I would say cryptocurrencies are like a digital form of money. Physical gold, of course. Paper gold futures are not gold, right? Mateo, Glint better than gold crypto? Well, Glint is centralized because it is a company, right? So they do audits. So I haven't seen any other, crypto gold is also, it's difficult because you can decentralize the transactions. In the end of the day, that gold's going to have to be stored somewhere centrally. That's the problem, in my opinion. So it's different. You need trust, of course. SAC Media, I'm waiting for the stock market to crash, hoping it happens soon. Thank you, Mr. B. Aaron Levy-Mara, can you please do technical analysis on Bitcoin? Yeah, okay. I will look into it this week, and I'll do some technical analysis on Bitcoin. Crypto Boner, you rock, man. Thanks for the info. You're welcome. Wednesday is 9/11. Do you think something will happen this day? No, I don't think so. SAC Media, Glint rocks keep saving bit by bit when it gets to 10 grams. Delivery. Yeah, you can't take delivery. One of my viewers sent me a message showing me his little 10-gram bar. Cope, what's your take on EOS? Connection is on EOS, actually, only because I've been using Steemit since over 3 years. When it started out, I started August 2016, and I like Steemit. I've earned quite a bit of steam, which through my videos, through my posts, and the guy who was behind Steemit, Dan Larimer, is behind EOS, and that's one of the reasons why I I do have EOS, so I've had it for a few years. So I'm holding on to EOS. I have Bitcoin as well, and that's about it really. EOS and Bitcoin. I've decided to, that's what I've. There's so much out there that it's difficult to keep track of everything. Is it buffering? Yeah. Unfortunately, I can't really do much about this. I saw a video. Um, I forgot now. I'll have to remember, and then I'll let you guys know. Patrick Niemeyer, Hashgraph. Yeah, I've looked into Hashgraph. It came out about 18 months ago. There was a big brouhaha about Hashgraph. I did look into it, but I haven't looked into it that much. EOS, of course, is proof of stake, not proof of work. Yes, Aaron, I will do technical analysis on Bitcoin, but not right now because I still need to learn how to like put other stuff on the screen. I'm just doing a plain vanilla live stream, but I'll do it on my videos. Who's behind Bitcoin? We don't really know. That's the mystery. Supposedly, is someone called Satoshi Nakamoto. He's the mystery. Yes, Pablo, EOS has done well lately. Objective reality. Hello, objective reality. Let me just try something here. I'm going to put. Okay. Wi-Fi modem. Let's see if it improves. Is that better? Typical Brian, what do you think will happen to the grains, soft foods, meats with the stock market and financial crash? Well, I think the fiat currencies of the West are going to worth less. That's all the central banks can do is to keep printing and devaluing because we got so much debt. So eventually, with what's called the Federal Reserve note, so that's longer term. I mean, next week or the week after, I'm not. The markets can go different, up and down. Java Junkie. No, I don't really follow the Canadian banks. Objective Reality got the glint card in the post and managed to put some gold on. That's good. Not everyone likes glint, and I understand that. I prefer physical, but I do have a glint card. I've always been open-minded to technology. So yeah, I remember getting I don't know if you guys remember e-gold. That was back about 10, 15 years ago. And I had some gold and silver on e-gold. I used to have a card, but then they were closed down and I had to wait a few years and I got my silver money from my silver back. But e-gold wasn't regulated. That was the problem. So Glint is regulated and they're doing things above board. And I've met them and they approach me. So, but as I said, I prefer physical gold, but it's nice to have an option to be able to buy as little as $1 in gold. That's what you can do with the Glint card. And it's only 0.5% they charge you above spot. Philip Simonak. I'm wondering if you are aware of the Zionist banking cartel's New World Order agenda. Yeah, I'm aware of all of that. I try not to focus on religion and like ethnicity. I'm aware that they've been trying to take control of the money supply for hundreds of years. They tried it in the U.S. Uh, Andrew Jackson stopped them in 1837. They had to wait until 1914 to take over again. Of course, I do. They want to enslave the world with central banking and fiat currency. Hopefully, they won't be successful. The only way to fight them is not to play their game, not to lend them the money, because that's what you do by keeping fiat money in the bank. Of course, you do need the fiat money to operate these days, but if you have extra, it's always good to get out of the system monetarily, either buying real assets, tangible goods, or physical gold and silver, or even cryptocurrencies now. That's the digital option now, cryptocurrencies. And I think not everyone will buy into cryptocurrencies, but you need to do your homework. I've done a lot of work, a lot of research and reading about cryptocurrencies. So you need to do the same thing. There's much more than just to buying the cryptocurrency. There's also the wallets. That's a different story, right? Maybe the Pentagon has a private keys. Yeah, there is a lot of speculation about cryptocurrencies and Bitcoin, that Bitcoin was created by the NSA. Who knows? But I think the developers, the IT people out there, they seem to be doing quite well with it. Yeah, it could be that these guys instead of spending the money to build the system up, they just put it out there and have it built free for them. Who knows? Mr. B, British Brainwashing Corporation. Yeah, the BBC. That's why I don't watch it anymore. BBC. Nor any other mainstream media. We don't really watch television here in my house. C3PO, hello from San Francisco. I'm 26 and studied history. Home prices are high here. I know, so they're high in London as well. Check out this home catalog. I found homes were affordable in the time when currency was money. What do you think? Do you mean when money, gold was money? I guess you do. And silver? Yeah, because the currency we have now is not money, it's paper. They're empty promises. So yeah, I agree with you. I remember in Switzerland, because I lived in Switzerland in the 80s and early 90s, and we'd been going to Switzerland since the 70s. And house prices in Switzerland up until the late 90s were very stable. They didn't move much. There was no booms and busts. But then the Swiss sold half their gold and they started playing the game. They started cutting rates. And now there's a bubble in Switzerland as well. But when they had sound money, they had 40% gold backing until the late 90s, the Swiss franc. There is very little asset price inflation in Switzerland, even though it was a rich country. C3PO, I haven't got the link. So I don't know if you sent it to me earlier. I didn't see it. If you could send it again. How safe is gold and silver? They stole it in 1933. Why would they change this policy? Yeah, nothing is like safe, of course. In 1933, gold was part of the monetary system. It was monetized, and they needed to, and they confiscated the gold because all the banks collapsed and they didn't have enough gold. They issued too too many promises. Nowadays, it isn't. And I don't think the public owns as much gold as they used to back in the 30s. So, but yeah, it's still in the books. So they could do it. Silver was never confiscated. So I don't think they will confiscate silver. Don't forget, silver was still used until 1964 in the coinage. Paul sent from Malta. After reset, how much would you expect UK house prices to readjust to? Well, it's all relative value. I guess I've looked in the past, the ratio of the average house price to gold, and it should go a lot lower. I think it's like 60 to 1 would be probably a good ratio. Swiss media openly talks about how the Swiss government is mostly bought by lobbyists. Probably. The only thing going for Switzerland, I would say, is that it's quite decentralized. The cantons and the communes in Switzerland have quite a bit of power. But yeah, it's very socialistic, Switzerland. But yeah. Do you think the Hong Kong riots will affect gold? No, I don't. I recommend people listen to True News. It's a great YouTube channel, True News. And they did a video about what's happening in Hong Kong. Very enlightening what's happening in Hong Kong. Listen to True News. Lord Humongous, nice to see you here now. I was wondering where you were. White elephant. Problem with diamonds is that their metals are the most marketable commodities. You can sell them anytime, anywhere. Diamonds, not so. But yeah, I think they hold their value, diamonds, over time. I'm personally not really into diamonds. And you have to be very careful, of course. Objective Reality had a look at woodland price in the UK per acre. It's about double what it should be. Yeah, there's a tax exemption on when you buy woodland in the UK. That's probably why. Yeah, what's the excuse, Lord Humongous? Just have a sip of my water. I got my maneco 64 mug from the Teespring store. Skinny B, do we have to pay capital gains with glint when the price of gold increase? Are you in the UK or in the US? In the UK, sovereigns are still the best way to own gold because they're capital gains tax free. Glint, yeah, if you buy a lot through glint and the price doubles, unless if you sell it, if you convert it, I think you could be liable to it, but they are, what they've told me is that they're working with regulators in the UK because when you trade foreign exchange in the UK, there's no capital gains tax, and gold is a currency and is traded as a currency. So they're trying to change that. So I would contact them if you're in the UK and ask them that question. Arian Gorman, love your channel, living in the USA, and I love an international opinion. Thank you. Oh, you're welcome. The thing is, I did live in the States when I went to university, a few years in Florida. I like the States. So yeah, and I've lived in the UK. I'm originally from Brazil. So I think I do give a pretty good balanced view, and I do know the States. I from at work as well. When I worked in London, I did have clients in the States. I did go back to the States. I do have some family, cousins. My niece lives in the States. So yeah, I hope that, I don't have like a centric view. Not saying Americans are all centric, but I remember from living in the States, it's such a huge country. There's everything. You kind of forget sometimes that there's other parts to the world. So hopefully I bring a little bit of that. Mark M., what is the initiator of the next financial crisis? Good question. I don't know. It's like Jim Ricketts says it. It could be like an avalanche. It's this little grain of snow tips it over. But the system is definitely well levered for that to happen. It could be an earthquake somewhere. It could be, I don't know, a hurricane somewhere, that brings down an insurance company or something like that. Who knows? Dave Humphreys, do you think assets like classic cars are also a hedge? Yeah, classic cars will hold their value. But in the liquidity, in the credit crunch, it will be really hard to sell that car. But if you wait on the other side of it, yeah, it will always be valuable. I also heard that 1970s motorbike might be something interesting, because a lot of the baby boomers are in their 50s and 60s. They're retiring, and they want to buy all, the 1970s motorbikes. That could be a next thing. I went to a investment conference, alternative investment conference, and there was a guy there. He's a motorbike broker. So maybe you should look into that. Google motorbike broker, 1970s collectors. Philip, is it just sovereigns that are capital gains tax-free? Any coin of the realm, with the queen's head on it or the previous monarch's head on it, are tax-free. So Britannias are also capital gains tax-free. Rohit Vashisht, what is your opinion about India? Well, India is a huge country, big economy. I think it's got the biggest middle class in the world, but it's also very, there's a big discrepancy between the wealthy and the poor. It needs to improve in that, I think. Infrastructure, from what I see, is not great, but yeah, it's got potential. Apart from that, I've never really been there, so I couldn't say more. Do you agree with Martin psycho theory of Martin Armstrong? Well, I used to read Martin Armstrong before he got out of jail, and to be honest, I don't really look into his stuff anymore. He's kind of changed. But cycles, of course, are something that always happen. And True News, I recommend that YouTube channel, True News. They did a whole hour plus on cycles. And basically, cycles happen because people never learn about history. Well, not everyone, but of course, some people know the history. But in general, the public don't want to know. So that's why things keep repeating. That's why there's cycles. Nothing changes under the sun. They quote Ecclesiastes, I think, chapter 1. So yeah, cycles are normal and they repeat themselves. Some people think we're in the fourth turning as well. They talk about the cycles of revolution and war, and according to True News, we are like, it's the first time in over 200 years that we are like converging, that the 2020s could be quite volatile. Mary, you need to make a super silver Billy mug. I've made, there are a few silver mugs, silver bug mugs, super silver Billy mug. What do you mean? Like just say super silver Billy with a picture? It's funny because the Teespring store lately there hasn't really been too much interest, so maybe I need to change the you know the listings. Aaron Levy, I think the UK is already in a recession, and I don't think it's because of Brexit. Of course, everything's blamed on Brexit nowadays. But yeah, we had negative GDP the last quarter. So yeah, it won't help, of course. Derek, SRT, Executive Order 6814 required turning in of silver bullion to U.S. government. All right. What I meant was like silver coins. I don't think they were ever confiscated. I didn't know about the silver bullion. And I think in 1968, you had to the silver certificates were no longer valid, so you had to, I think, exchange by a certain date. So I've got some silver certificates here. U.S. Treasury, you can't go there anymore and get your silver. Lawrence William, if you had to pick silver or gold, which would you pick? For savings, gold. For for if you have quite a lot of money saved, I would go for gold, but I would always have silver as well. They're both money, but yeah, and it's up to you. It's all personal. Some people prefer silver. Peter Wald, will you soon start doing live videos? What do you mean by live videos? This is a live stream. I'm not sure what you mean by live videos. Lynn Gordon, EU needs Great Britain more than the other way around. Well, the other thing as well, if the UK crashes out without a deal and nothing happens really badly and the UK keeps doing well, that's going to be a really an encouragement to all the other countries that are sick and tired of the EU, like Southern Europe, Greece, Italy, Spain. Yeah, I think the EU has a lot more to lose than the UK from a hard Brexit. Vanguard is a big fund, Pablo. Yeah, some people. I did have some Ripple, but I got rid of it. Some people think it's a bankster crypto. They could be right. Oh, you're welcome, Dave. Thank you for the feedback. Montenegro uses the euro and they're not even the EU. Of course, I mean countries. You know, Panama is not part of the United States, and they use the US dollar. I think in colonial times in early America, coins from all over the world circulated in the US. This thing that we have to have a national currency is just rubbish. You know, you could use, I would accept a payment in a foreign coin in the UK. It's just the government that doesn't like it. Heard that 16.9, the chat room will be gone from YouTube and live podcast. You mean like no, I haven't heard about that. Yeah, the Spanish real was the world standard. I'm also reading about the gold florin. That was a standard for the whole of Europe in the Renaissance. And the guilder or the florin, that, you know, the Dutch money, that's derived from the florin. Yeah, I think even Australia had a florin, like a silver coin. Do you guys hear Billy snoring? Hi, Jeff. Yeah, this is Medici Money, Banking, Metaphysics, and Art in the 15th century Florence by Tim Parks. Not a big book. I've started reading it. The reason I started reading it is that my wife and I are going to Florence in October. So I want to, you know, learn a little bit about Florence. I've been to Florence once on business, only for a day, so I don't really know much about Florence. So and earlier, Jeff, I read a passage here about the art, the Exchange Guild, which is the Money Changers Guild in Florence in the Renaissance, and I'll read it again and see if you guys can see the similarity with cryptocurrencies. Right? It says, once completed, the entry is read out loud. Any member of the Exchangers Guild found to have destroyed or altered his accounts is expelled without appeal. So there you go. You see the blockchain, the block producers, decentralization. Even though it was just in Florence, if you cheated the system, you were out. So it's very hard to cheat the system. And that's why I have the book here. Peter Wald, Billy is not paying attention, doesn't care about economical stuff, I think. Well, you'd be surprised. I think, you know, he's listening. House of Medici, Black nobility. Well, and the thing about you know, the Renaissance, there were a lot of bankers. Medici were the biggest, right? But that's how the system worked there. They're the smaller banks, and they were all outside on the benches. That's why it's called banca or bank. That's where the name comes from. And it was all done in public, and it was all transparent, unlike the central bankers nowadays. I'm not defending the Medici or anything. I'm just talking about how it used to work. Milled Steel, you should do a video on your favorite money gold books. I will. I have done in the past. I will do it again. I've noticed that subscribership is increasing quite quickly now. I've gone over 25,000. So yeah, I will keep going back and redoing it for the new subscribers, new viewers. Trader 586, thoughts on the bond market. I think we've turned and this lifts markets higher. Risk on. I'm not sure, about the bond markets, if the yields are going to spike back up. I personally think they're going to keep dropping. I think this is a counter trend rally in yields and a drop in bond prices. I could be wrong, but I think we're going to test 136, 133 in the 10-year yield still. The important event this week, I think, in terms of the markets, could be the ECB meeting. It's on Thursday, September 12th. Just want to put that out there. Rob Duchesne, what do you think? How will Canada fare with no gold in the? Yeah, I think Canada has like 80 ounces of gold or something, which is really silly. The thing about Canada is that Canada has a lot of gold in the ground, right? A lot of mining companies, so it could be okay. Who knows? But it doesn't help. Dave Humphreys, can the Fed print enough money to essentially gift all stocks an increase? They can for a while, but eventually people will. You can't do it forever. If you could do that, Dave, Zimbabwe would be a rich country. So yeah, I don't think it can go on for a little while, but eventually people lose confidence in the currency. They see that it's worthless. Peter Wilson, what book have you read and enjoyed most recently? Gold. Where is it? My wife put all my books. War and Gold is a good one. I'm almost finished. I'll put it here. The guy who wrote this, he's a member of parliament, believe it or not. That's a good book. The other one that I liked, I read a few months ago, is The Mandibles by Lionel Shriver. The Mandibles. I recommend that. That's probably my favorite book of the year that I've read. The Mandibles. Let's see. I've got the microphone in front of my Mandibles. There you go. C3PO. It's a shame Italy's economy isn't growing. Such a beautiful, historic, and rich place. She ought to have a thriving economy. Yeah, I mean, I've watched. There's a Norwegian YouTuber called Harold Balder. I'll put his name here. He does a lot of traveling around the world. He's got like hundreds of thousands of followers, and he's been in Florence recently, and it's a thriving city. There's a lot of small businesses. Yeah, it is a shame. That's the problem with Italy, though. It could be a much greater country, but there's too much government and regulation, in my opinion. That's the problem. Yeah, Billy's woken up. I don't know if Lord Humongous, Bundesbank and Deutsche Bank merging. No, the Bundesbank is the central bank. So I don't think the Bundesbank would want to merge with Deutsche Bank. Most people don't realize that the German banking system is very decentralized. There are thousands of local banks in Germany. So Bundesbank, Deutsche Bank, I think only hold like 10 or 12% of German deposits. So it's not really an important, well, it is a big bank, but it's not as important as Barclays or Lloyd's Bank or NatWest in the UK. So no, I don't think Bundesbank is going to merge with Deutsche Bank. Maybe the government might nationalize them, but not the Bundesbank. Bundesbank is separate from the German government. Glenn Brunk, where do you think is the best place to retire? Yeah, Billy's gone to the pub. Well, Glenn, um, I don't know, because on my personal experience, I grew up in Brazil. My parents moved to Switzerland later on. Um, I'm now live in the UK. I want to I want to stay here because it's my home. It depends if and I've lived in many places and I've traveled around, but I want to stay here now. So uh, a lot of Americans I see go to Costa Rica to retire. It's quite reasonable there. It's quite cheap to live. But yeah, I think a lot of Americans are into Costa Rica. Who knows? Here in the UK, I think maybe going up further north, maybe to Wales or even Scotland could be good if you're from London, because you could sell up in London and you can get a lot more for your money up there. Panama as well. Mr. B, Mary, been watching since the beginning, subscribed in first 50. Wow. Can I be a moderator for you? Yeah, sure. What do you moderator? Yeah, is that there you go. Sorry, I think you asked me that question before. I didn't see it. There's also another good YouTube channel that I've been watching recently with what all the mess that's going on here in the UK. This is more, I guess, for my UK viewers, but Americans would like it too. It's this guy here. We got a problem. He does use swear words a lot. If you don't like that, you might not like him, but he's really good. We got a problem. Is that his name, Danny? I didn't know that was his name. Yeah, Jeff Solero, big increase in Americans retiring into Mexico. Yeah, I have a viewer. He's from Canada, I think, and he's retired to Mexico. All right, I'll take a few more questions and then I'll call it a day because we're going on almost for an hour here. The south of Brazil would be a good place for me because I have a Brazilian passport and it's a lot more. It's quite European. The south of Brazil. It's quite a nice place. The problem is that my mother-in-law is quite old, and we have to keep an eye on her. So we couldn't move right now, and she's only got me and my wife and my daughter. So small family on my wife's side. Who do you think will win the 2020 election? I don't know. I don't know because even the guys at True News, they think, if there is a big economic crash, Trump might not win. You might not even get an election. Things are so polarized in the US. They think that whoever wins, there'll be riots. If Trump wins, there'll be riots. If Democrats win, whoever that might be, there'll be riots. So Danny Djokovic, did you hear about The Hague? The Hague being moved to Israel. How can you move a city to Israel? The Hague is a city in Holland. Do you mean the International Court? No, I haven't heard. If that's what you mean, I haven't heard about that. Paul Anders says, lol, no way the Democrats win. You never know. Right now, it looks like Trump should win or will win, but we still have over 12 months. So that's a long time in politics, as they say. Or there might not be an election in 2020. There's a lot of people who say that, yeah, who knows? Yeah, recommend. Conservatives don't riot, liberals do. Well, I think that's I think that's a problem. They're dividing people too much. Who knows? Yeah. So, if you want to really see what's going on with cycles, go to True News and have a look. It's a recent video. I think it was on Thursday. I think it's an hour and 43 minutes, but it's worth listening to, all about cycles and what could be happening in the early 2020s in the US and around the world. So, thank you, everyone, for showing up for the live stream. I appreciate all the support, all the thumbs up. If any of you are new to the channel, think about subscribing. And I'll talk to you tomorrow. Take care. Goodbye, everyone.